All right, so here we have the operator, George, approaching the loader. So before you approach any equipment, you want to make sure that you do a 360 walk around, doing a full, thorough inspection, inspecting your tires, any handles, latches, all the equipment. He's going to do a quick check around, opening the engine compartment, checking for any types of leaks or any fluids around, any indication of anything that is misleading for anything to go wrong. So quick impression, walk around, securing the latch. Once George does his full 360 walk around on the piece of equipment, again, you're looking at everything that it has to do. You're checking your mirrors, you're checking your tires, you're checking the grease points, you're checking your steps, access points, your windows. So the importance of a 360 walk around when you're doing a visual inspection right away, there's a lot of open spots that you can see, and if you see anything wrong, again, make sure you point it out if it has to be repaired or brought up to the actual mechanic. So George did his 360 walk around. One other thing we've got to remember is once you climb the equipment, you see everything is clear. The surroundings, make sure you use 3 points of contact. 3 points of contact, proper footing, both arms. Then you approach on getting on your equipment. Why you want to do this? You want to make sure that you're grabbing yourself properly to climb up the truck to prevent any slipping or from you falling off. So once all that's completed, make sure that you close the door. Then the next step, got to make sure you put on your seatbelt. All right, seatbelt is on, and George is ready to show us how to properly load a flowboy trailer with a loader. Other things before we start approaching our stockpile or material we're going to be loading on the bucket, we got to make sure that we level out the bucket and we grab our material, not digging the surface that we're riding on. Once we see that we have enough clearance, we approach the load carefully, slowly, and again, keep your bucket off the ground. That way you don't mess the ground that you're riding on. So approach it slowly, right? No need to spin the tires. Grab a full load. Once you have a full load, make sure you always want to go back and shake off the excess of the material. Why? Because this prevents any tracking of material to your flat ground where you want to have a smooth operation. You don't want to have any bumps or any bouncing around. So before backing up again, we have a backup alarm, but George is being extra careful on alerting the surroundings by honking his horn. So right now, George is going to be lining up, backing up, and then he'll be approaching the trailer closely and then safely. Notice how George has to be approaching very, very slowly because he has to make sure that he aligns properly to get all the material in the actual trailer. So once he approaches, the bucket is very, very low because he's visualizing he has no obstructions. Once he agrees that he is secured, he starts raising his bucket, and then he would carefully approach the trailer slowly to make sure that, again, no material falls off the bucket and he doesn't hit anything on the truck. So as George approaches slowly, he's already cleared the bucket high enough. He sees the clearance point, and from there on, he'll stop, and then George will be slowly dumping in the sand. You notice how the edge, there's at least 1 foot to 2 foot of clearance, and then he doesn't shake the bucket hard that it would be causing any damage to the actual structure of the material. So once he's cleared it and all the sand is there, lift the bucket, then back out safely, slowly and approachingly on the trailer that you loaded. George is clear, moved out of the way, and now he completed unloading a full bucket of material into the trailer. Let's say the truck or trailer you're loading is very, very low on comparison to the clearance for the bucket. Remember, we don't want to damage anything. So the best thing to do is build a ramp with the material that we're utilizing to load our trailers. Again, once we build a ramp, it's going to help us out too to make sure that we get enough clearance so the bottom of the bucket does not hit the edge of the top of the trailer or the truck. These damages, again, could be very pricey, costly, and again, it would be an operator error. So the best thing to do is, again, teach our employees, whoever's going to be the operator, to make sure that we do this properly. So he's just building the ramp with a couple of feet. It might take a couple of loads of sand or material, but again, it's better for him to take his time, build it properly, and again, we get that clearance going on. B in the wheelbase, so now he's created more clearance on the bucket, and now there's a less chance of him impacting the trailer. So this is done in situations where the trailer is very, very high, and you can reach it with the actual bucket. You have to build a ramp, and again, it's built with the simple material that you carry. And again, this is a situation that we'll use to prevent any equipment damage. All right, so this is another type of loading on a different type of truck. This one is a lower truck. This is an actual slurry truck. So one of the things, again, this is where we're actually be using a ramp more, again, just to make sure that we don't damage anything on our trucks. So we have enough clearance, but again, we gotta remember that the more clearance we have, the better. So again, utilizing the ramp that George built earlier, we can see on the top how much gap we have between the bottom of the bucket and the edge of the truck. So again, we're loading sand material. It pretty much follows the flow with gravity as he's pouring it in. One thing that you gotta notice as George is loading the truck, he's doing it very, very careful. There's no need for him to drop down the bucket, because again, the thing that we don't want to happen is equipment damage. So once George sees that there's no more sand coming out, it's already cleared up, the next step that he has to do is make sure he lifts the bucket up before backing up. Now that he has enough clearance, he backs out of it, then he lines up, then he starts lowering the bucket, backs to his position. Remember, you don't want to have any obstructions once you start moving your bucket. So again, thank you, George, for showing us how to properly load a flowboy trailer and an actual slurry truck trailer.